Okay, so who believes they can be a master of their own destiny? Can we be a master of this is some, yeah. Can we be a master of our own destiny, do you think?
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, to a point, I guess. What can we control? What can't we control? That's the key. When we say destiny, what is destiny anyway? And what is being a master? And we can make choices. We can make decisions in our life. We've got choice. We can make decisions. In terms of being a master of our own destiny, well, I suppose there are external factors that contribute to us going from A to B as well. We don't have complete say in what we want. So I'm sure there's plenty of things that you want in the past, and you may or may not have achieved them, and certainly in my experience. I think what I would say is that living a life of no regrets, in the sense, okay, I've given it a go. And having a sense of philosophy that I've given it my best shot, not it's meant to be or not meant to be, it's a question of growth. Because you can play it safe and not do anything. And that's almost like failure by default, because anyone can play it safe. Every now and again, I suppose, we want to push ourselves to grow. What's the danger in setting a goal, do you think? What's one of the most, why don't people set more goals consciously, do you think?
Fear of not achieving it?
Yeah. There is a fear. I think so, for sure. And anything else other than fear of not achieving it?
People can't be bothered.
That's true too. Yeah, no, definitely. The goal's not exciting enough, possibly, because you will set a goal anyway. In one way, whether it's a conscious goal, getting up in the morning, going to a job is a goal. Even if it's a goal the person doesn't like the job very much, it's still a goal. They're still doing it. Going shopping on a Tuesday night or whatever they do is still a goal. It's goal-directed behaviour in one sense. In saying that they could, booking a holiday is a goal.
Jim, where do you draw the line? Like having like a specific goal so that you want to achieve, or doing like day-to-day tasks?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And wake up and go to sleep and go out shopping.
Yeah,
fantastic. I don't see that as a goal. I see that as part of the, the machinery.
Yeah. No, it is indeed.
It is indeed. Yeah, for sure. So.
And I suppose that's a great point. I think that for me, it's still goal-directed behaviour. You still have the capacity to make that decision, that judgment. You still have the capacity to write a shopping list, to drive to the supermarket, to functionally.
I think it depends where you are in life as well.
Yeah,
because obviously my goal is you want to buy this house and live. But then after I've had the baby, when I had the baby, I was just so knackered and so tired and so drained, so low place. Like a goal would be for me to go to the supermarket that day.
So
it would depend.
For sure. And it's not for me to say what people do and what they shouldn't do in terms of their life. I think telling people they're complete master of their own destiny, there's something condescending about that in my world, because really, how much do we master? What can we control? I might want something and have the desire to want it, yet there are other permutations that are going to affect my ability to achieve that. So I might want to be, I don't know, the world's fastest sprinter. Now, genetically, at this stage in my career as well, if that were the case, it's going to be quite challenging. I would say, at this point, it'd be near enough impossible. And you could say, well, that's a belief. Well, it might be, it might not be, but then it's got to be desired too. So there are variable permutations, I think, that we need to make consideration when we're doing this. And I say that on the basis that if we can get some sort of meaning, then it puts us in a better place to feel that sense of relief from the pressure. Because you mentioned, Beth, about the fear. Now, what is fear anyway? And do we fear not going for it? Do we fear going for it, not achieving it more? Do we regret the things that we did or the things that we didn't do? So if you don't go for it, you're not going to get it for sure. If you go for it, you've got a chance. Now, if you play a lottery ticket, you've got a small chance in the percentage scheme of things, but if you don't play at all, you've got no chance at all. So I suppose what I'm getting at really is you sort of take, and what we covered earlier today, your own ecology, your own consequences, your own where you are in life. You take a lot of considerations into play, and all you can do is all you can do the best you can. So where this is concerned, yeah, in an ideal world, we could just sit there and write a list of things that we want, like a shopping list, and put it in the post, and it becomes delivered the next day. Idealistically, the easy as that. It requires effort, requires desire, it requires the know-how. But even all things being equal, you put the effort in, you have the desire, you do everything you possibly can. It's no guarantees in life. What I would say is that one thing that is guaranteed is that at least you've got the chance for growth. At least you've got the opportunity to evolve in one sense. And some goals, sometimes you look back in life and think it's a good thing I didn't achieve it, because I'm in a better place I am now. So that's one way to look at it. But I think for me, aiming high is okay. It's probably good to aim high. Because if I aim here and I don't get there, then I'm going to get higher than if I just stay in the comfort zone. And I'm not saying to sink or swim, by the way. I don't really buy into the sink or swim approach. I think if we sort of focus too much on sink or swim, we put people under a lot of pressure, and we don't react really well in pressure. So for me, it's about, okay, I'm here, I'm at this point here, and I want to get there. It's extending the comfort zone. Okay, extending it. So I might take 2 steps forward, 1 back, but I'm moving towards that place, and it's okay. Rather than trying, okay, I'm going to try and leap in one single bound. I'm going to try and do a Superman or be a Superman and leap the building in one bound. I think it's pretty hard doing it that way. I think sometimes if you sort of go right to the deep end, is the goal really enjoyable? I think a goal should get you up in the morning at 3 o'clock every now and again, but I think if it's always on your mind and you're ruminating and you're stewing over it, is it really worth pursuing? There's got to be something said about the journey of the goal. I think it's the journey as well as the destination. If you're not enjoying the journey, then you've got to ask yourself, well, do I like the idea of doing it, or do I like the doing itself? Which is key. We've talked about the brain today, and we made points to the brain, and we can draw some stuff in. So there's a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, and you can see where the part of the brain. So if you look at the brain from the point of view, that's the back of the brain in one of the midline structures. Many scientists believe it contributes to behavioural adaptation. It's detection of conflict and responding to and managing emotional reactions. Okay, so it's about adjusting our behaviour accordingly. So I guess in plain English, okay, imagine you're playing cards and 90% chance of winning. So you were playing against a friend and you'd beaten this friend 90% of the time. Okay, 10 times you beat them 9 times out of 10. Or you could be playing another sport. Or you could be, you could go home and go to open the door with the key. And 100 times you've gone to open the key and it's open. On the one occasion you put the key in, it doesn't open. What's your reaction, do you think? What's your reaction? So you've opened the door for that key 100 times.
Surprise.
Yeah, you're kind of surprised. So, and all of a sudden, without you knowing, you're playing these cards, and you start to, they've swapped the percentage now. The person you're playing against somehow, or the computer you're playing against now, going from you 90% chance of winning, the odds are now you 10% chance of winning. So now you're losing. You're losing 90 times over 100 rather than winning 90 times over 100. What's your reaction, do you think, when you start losing against the odds? How will you react when you start realizing, wow, I'm losing here in a higher proportion than what I was winning before? What's the brain's reaction, do you think?
Probably pump up some adrenaline with it.
You may do. Any other reaction do you think you might have?
I knew lucky kid.
You could do, for sure.
Logic.
Yeah, that you could do. And the part of the brain is the anterior cingulate cortex. The hypothesis is, how do you react to an unexpected outcome? How does one react? And most importantly, what do you learn from the outcome? And how do you adjust your behaviour? Okay.
Would you at first, sorry Jim, would you just keep trying
you could do, Joe. There's a
and
possibility.
maybe miss the absolute blatant obvious. It's not working, Joe. Stop.
That's it. Yeah, that's a great point. There's a possibility. I suppose the long and short of it is the key is how we realise and how we learn, how we adjust from the outcome, our adjustment. So you could get home and the door's not opening, the key, and you could just go off your head completely. You know, you could. There's many things you could do. You could go to the car and it's not opening. No doubt other permutations can affect how you feel. If you go to the car and let's say you were to walk to your car and you try and open the door and it's not opening and you've got like a dog chasing, a bit like those movies you see, the car never starts every time they've got to get away from danger. It's going to be different, no doubt, than it would be if you're just walking casually, one would think. That, you know, so there are other things that do influence the behaviour, but the important thing is, at what point do we realise something's not right? And upon realising it's not right, how do we adjust our behaviour? So if we're sort of cruising along and we're winning 90% of the time, every time we play cards against the computer or against somebody else, then the odds are swapped against us. The art is our adjustment in our behaviour. The art is our capability to manoeuvre in a way. And I suppose, you know, all people will react in different ways. And we talk more on the course about midline structures of the brain and how important it is to do exercises that can influence this area of the brain. This area of the brain, we have the opportunity to bridge the heart with the mind, so to speak, in the sense that we can then connect to the limbic parts of the brain. And we'll talk more about that on the course as we go along. But for this point here, let's think about how we can adjust our behavioural adaptation. Let's think self-aware. And have you ever been in a situation yourself where the unexpected's happened? You know, you're in a situation where things haven't happened the way you've expected them to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was going for training once. I booked a venue.
Yeah.
As she was waiting outside, and the landlord is a tenant on the venue. And you got the shoes that paid for training. What do you do?
Of course, and there's a logical reaction.
Yeah.
And there's you got the logical brain, you got the logical brain telling you one thing, and you got the emotional brain telling you something completely a different feeling. So, you know, logic tells us one thing, and we do a lot of communication through logic. We do, and if we could communicate with people based on logic alone, the world would be a wonderful, or it is a wonderful place, but a lot more wonderful than it is now, because logic tells us one thing, but emotion tells us something different in that respect. So a lot of people do rational. Now I think rational therapy has its place, for example, yet in saying that, I think there's also a place for being creative and working on a level that we can connect to the limbic system, because okay, you could we've all been in a situation, I'm sure you've been in a situation where, okay, possibly you shouldn't eat that food, but you carry on eating it. Maybe smoking, smoking, there's plenty of literature out there telling it's not good, but we carry on doing it. Let's say, for example, you might have loved someone in the past and you knew they weren't good for you, but you sort of carried on feeling that way. Or you might have a teenager, say to your teenager, you know what, the error of your ways, and it's unlikely the teenager's going to say, oh, you're right, mum or dad. It doesn't quite work that way, does it? You know, so I think we'll touch on that more.
I used to say, eat your dinner because there's starving in Africa.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you like your dinner
No,
anymore.
no.
You want to give it to the starving in Africa.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't have it.
Yeah. Or you can give it or you can sort of put it to one side. Or if you don't like the food, if there's a cat in the house, you can have it. But no, you're right, and I think that there is that for sure. But if you took a plane somewhere and experienced, it would influence your map of the world a lot more, rather than someone saying it. if you sort of took a group of 12-year-olds who weren't eating their food and made them realise, how fortunate they were to have the food, the roof over their head, and things that we've got, put in an environment where they don't have that, you stimulate a realisation. And we do a lot more of that in the course. We'll do that as we sort of sail our way into the course, and we'll look at ways to work at a limbic level, which we'll touch on throughout the course. But for now, the key is anticipation. And we touch on visualisation tomorrow in detail. It's our ability to anticipate variable outcomes. Now, you could waste a lot of time and energy, what if, and anticipate every scenario there is in the world. And we couldn't do it if we wanted to, because there's so many things that could happen in life. But we can anticipate what we can. And by anticipating, we can then assess what we'll do behaviourally. By role play, by mental rehearsal, by ways to look at various permutations. So you're going for an interview, you could, going for an interview, you could say, well, what questions will I be asked? And practice answering them. Going to a presentation, you could rehearse it, physically, visually. If you've got a goal, you could start with the hypothesis of having the goal. Does that make sense? Yeah, so you can start the hypothesis, you've got the goal. So you've got the goal. So you could go to the place of having the goal. So you want to write a goal down that you have. If you write a goal down that you have, think about why you want the goal. And what would it feel like if you had it? Because all that we want because we think it's going to make us feel better. So you're in a better emotional state to get the goal, one would think. So think of a goal you've got and think of your reasons why you want the goal. What's your drive? What's the fuel that burns the fire? And go to the feeling. And see it, hear it, feel it. We start the end in mind. Okay, let's choose a goal that you want to work with. It could be career, health, fitness, personal life, social, an ambition. You're not accountable to do anything you don't want to do. It's just, an exercise. But if you want to make it applicable to your own journey in life, then all the more. Why not? But there's no accountability. I'm certainly not going to suggest that anything you put on paper today or work on today, you've got to follow it through. From a practical point of view, it's quite a good exercise to do. And we can focus on one. You can do an exercise now called the letter to yourself, and here it's quite a useful exercise. Think in a year, if you were to open a letter up a year from now, what would you like to have done? With the point of I am, you could start, I am living in such and such, in such a house, driving such a car, doing a certain job, and you can cover every component in this aspect if you want to. It's entirely up to you. Or you could really focus on one area if you want to. It's quite a useful thing and way to navigate. So we all met back up again next year. How would your year gone? What would you have done? Where would you have travelled? What work would you be doing? What will you be achieved? And how will it feel to have done that? or you could break it down to a month, 2 weeks, as long as you want to. There's no accountability here. You don't have to. A year, it could be 10 years, and think. Does that work for everybody? Yeah, it's a really good process to use. I do the process myself. It's quite good to sort of help us navigate goal-directed behaviour and move towards where we want to go. And who knows, you might open the letter up next year, tick everything that you wrote down. I think the key thing here is having the flexibility. If circumstances change, then do another one. But it's quite useful to be able to do the process. You can choose one area, all areas. It's a great way to revisit and reevaluate. Does anyone do letter to self, by the way? You do? Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes we letter to others as well, to the children.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I think it was partly to relieve stress, and you have a difficult time with children, you write letters to them. I mean, I did once to my daughter. She would give me a really hard time, and you don't really post it, but by mistake, my daughter, one of my children put a stamp on, posted it, and she realised it was to my daughter back to the same house.
Okay,
and then she got the letters, all my feeling, all my venting, all that. And she actually read, she got shocked, she cried, she screamed. She didn't tell me she got the letter, then I noticed a huge change in her. There's all my feelings, what I was feeling, how upset, angry I was with her and everything. But actually it had a very big positive change. It's things I can say to her face.
No, that's interesting stuff. The general one is really good too.
You've said that.
Yeah.
Because that's happened in
psychologists that actually let him post it. Not to post it.
These days you can write emails to yourself. You don't have to write letters now. Or you can send a text message to yourself. Okay, but it's useful. Journaling is quite useful too. Journaling is quite useful to be able to dissociate from whatever we're going through as well. Even if it's our thoughts and our feelings, it's quite useful. Now we'll talk about that in the course as well. I suppose that we'll go into more detail about how we can elicit our values in the course too, to navigate what we want to. Because if we're living true to our values, and value in this context is what's important to us in a specific context, then we're more into alignment. And we'll sort of touch on that in the program, the course, because I think setting a goal should incorporate our understanding our values, our drivers. I think so. The values do change in time. I think setting a goal should incorporate like a compass. The values are like a compass to take the goal. But we'll sort of touch on that on the course during the weekend. Okay, so now we'll do the technique. So it's a powerful technique. You can use it, as we mentioned, for a number of things. Okay, and so we've talked about it before. We can do experiential exercise, and then we can break away and have a goal. So you still okay to volunteer?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, okay. You're going to come to the
No.
hot seat? Okay. So I'll guide you through some steps, by the way. In the manual, you'll see you can use cards, it says. If you want to use cards, you can do to mark the spots. It's entirely up to you. They can walk it through, or they can just do it sitting down. Either or, it's okay. Either way is okay. I give the person I'm working with the choice to either walk it through and I'll talk you through. So first of all, what I'd like to do, Marie, is create an image of your life. It tells what the goal is anyway. Just share what it is. What are you wanting?
Yeah. I envisage creating an academy to build a bridge between social and healthcare. Thought you might like that.
Okay, so a bridge between social and
healthcare.
Okay, so tell us a bit about, as much as you feel comfortable telling us about this goal.
Okay.
What's the vision?
Okay. Well, first of all, my introduction to you all generally, it just fascinates me each time I turn up to certain seminars and things that we're with amongst like-minded people. You know, you couldn't particularly think, I hope they're going to be there, or choose them, but you all are here, and so am I, so thank you. So I come from a background of being a nurse for 30 years, general trained. Stepped away from that, stepped into other things along the way. And just in the last 12 months, 18 months, I've stepped into social care, just thinking that it would be an easy part-time, plugging the gap while I'm doing something else. But then people are actually now seeking me. So I recognise there is a gap out there looking after, particularly at the moment, the older generation who are not particularly ill, and the family are far away, so you're stepping up for the family, and it's being able to meet the needs of the client that's client-centred, but then I recognise that I'm meeting the needs of the family, and then of course I'm meeting my needs, and I need another 20 people.
Okay. So really, let's be really specific about the goal.
Okay.
Tell me about this goal specifically. What is it?
Yeah. So I need to replicate this, and so to create an academy, and that's the goal, and to be able to build.
So what will the academy be doing? What's
The academy will it will create an infrastructure of education, drawing on both the understanding of healthcare and meeting the requirements of social care.
Okay. Okay, and you could sort of carry on if you wanted to. I'm mindful of time, and we'll want to have a go at the technique. Really be kind enough to volunteer. So perhaps you want to close your eyes now.
Okay.
And as you close your eyes, just breathe naturally, normally. And as you breathe naturally, normally, perhaps you aware of your heart rate. And as you become aware of your heart rate, you notice your breathing. And just breathe a bit deeper, please. So you breathe through your abdominal, so you calm the sympathetic nervous system down, let the parasympathetic kick in, relaxing the sphincter muscles. And one hand might feel warm than the other. And really going to a point in your life you felt really calm and at peace. If you can't think of a time you go into that state, imagine what it'd be like to feel calm and creative. Notice the colours, the sounds, the feelings, where the feelings are. Let the feelings spread through the whole of the body. And as you do that, create an image of your life at the point in the future. You've achieved the goal. So I'm having this conversation now with you. You've achieved the goal. Okay? We're going to a point of you achieving the goal. Marie?
Okay.
Okay. Now you've got the goal. What I'd like you to do is tell me about this goal. Tell me what you're doing. How you're living the goal.
Living the goal, I've removed myself so far in front.
Okay, how far in front are you?
Right in front.
Whereabouts? Point to where it is.
To the table leg.
To the table leg?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's to the table
Yeah,
leg.
so it's, yeah.
Okay. Which table leg? That one over there?
Okay, sorry, yeah. Table leg, and I say the table leg because that is a physical thing that we can see.
Okay, now we mark two spots, and you can mark two spots on the floor if you want to. You can use the imagination if you want to walk from there back to, where is the here and now? Where would that be? If the future's there, where's the now?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I suppose it's where I'm starting from.
Okay, that's okay. And so I asked the person to say, we're going to go on a journey
Okay.
of going from there to there. Okay? Okay. And if you want to use the power of imagination and sit back, and I can do it through guided imagery, you can do it that way. It's your call.
Okay.
You want it physically.
Well, do guided imagery.
You want it? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I give the option to the person, okay? I will do a demonstration as well of how you could do it walking step by step, as well as if the client says they want to do it sitting back through guided imagery and sitting, then we can do it that way. There's no rule to say we need to do it one way or the other. I work to what the person I'm working with, what they prefer. Okay? I think some people have a preference walking it through. They're quite kinesthetic, but some people prefer to sit back visual. Marie's a very visual person. I think that for her, sitting back, it may be a useful way to, at least in this context, and the way she described it would suggest it's quite visual. I didn't the way she described the goal. She'd probably get as much benefit, if not more, doing it this way. So work the way you want to. So perhaps you close your eyes now. Okay. And I want you to imagine going to that place where, in the future, so you're standing where the table leg is in the future. And as you're standing in the table leg in the future, you've got the goal. Feel it. See it. Really feel the goal. Really feel the goal. You've achieved the goal, you're living it, you've got the academy, you're doing what you're wanting to do. Okay, you've got the goal. A bit like a remote control on a TV, turn the sounds, the feelings, okay? Really, really feel it. What's it feel like? Have the goal.
I'm very peaceful. I feel inspired to create the next chapter from achieving that goal. Because I see myself out on a boat, on a cruise boat, small cruise boat, because I'm just in the time of that, being more creative.
Where's those feelings of creativity?
Sorry, say that again.
Whereabouts physically do you feel creative?
Yeah, I feel very much solar plexus. Yeah.
Okay, you feel creative in the solar plexus.
I feel very creative. So that's making me feel that I've been a bit more in my logic mind of more recent times. Yeah.
So you feel creative. What do you hear? You've got the goal, you're living the goal.
The sound of peace. It's quiet.
What do you see?
What do I see? Just a mass amount of water, vast, but still ebbing and flowing.
Okay.
Calm.
Okay. Now I want you to imagine taking a step into the future. So you take a step beyond the goal, past the leg of the table, and you can see yourself, okay, from the journey, from the beginning when you're on the chair, right through to having the goal. Okay, you're living this goal. You've got the academy. You've got the academy. You're on your boat. You're living, and you've got the academy. You're reflecting on that. Notice how it feels. What advice would you give to the Marie who was starting out now you got the academy? What advice would you give someone or the person you were now that you've achieved your outcome? You've got your goal now.
To go with your gut feeling.
Okay.
Just to feel your way through.
Any advice?
To keep focused.
Okay. Anything else? Any other advice you would give to?
And you're not facts along the way, it's just learning.
Yeah. Okay. And you can sort of prompt the person as you go along. Okay. Now we're going to move through a series of steps we talked about before. Okay. In between the steps, we're going to break states. And break state is just a way of bringing the mind back to a neutral state. And you could break state by changing conversation. You could break state by interrupting their pattern. You could break state from the course point of view. Just say to the person, "What's your phone number backwards?" Unscramble their mind. You've got the goal, and really live the goal. So you've got the goal. So perhaps you'd like to close your eyes and really feel the goal. You live in the goal. You've got this training academy. You're doing the training. You're doing the work. You're doing the staff and the feeling. All these feelings. You've got the goal. Ask yourself, what's different about you? What role are you playing now that you weren't playing before? Now you've got the goal.
I've removed all restrictions that have been around me. I've been trying to visualise what that bar is or that leg that has been in front of me.
So what role are you playing now? Now you're this person who runs this academy.
I'm a leader.
Okay.
I'm leading into the future with this.
How does it feel to be a leader?
It feels great, fantastic.
Okay.
It feels right.
Once upon a time, I was working with this gentleman in an organisation in Manchester. I shan't name the company for confidentiality, and he got promoted to being a director of the company. He was a financial director, and they asked me to coach him, this gentleman. He was a lovely man, really, really nice man, and he said to me that he'd been coached before I arrived and really struggled with his new role. He got promoted. He had this issue of identity. He said that he spoke to a coach and they believed he might have had imposter syndrome. said, that's quite enlightening. I've never heard of that before. Well, I did hear it before, in the sense that he felt that he didn't belong. Identity, sense of self. How you define who you are impacts your behaviour. If the person retires from the police force, from being a principal, from whatever they're doing, there's this slight loss, bereaved. Now, in my mind, what was sabotaging his new role was the fact he didn't feel he could fulfill that. He was doing the job well, but there was something about his new identity, the label. See, careful how you define yourself, because how you define who you are impacts your behaviour. And this could be a way to sabotage the goal, because you could find that wonderful relationship until I'm not worth being that person. You could find that great job, I'm not worth that. So here we're looking for red flags, and we're not going to go into too much detail and depth because of time, and Marie's been kind of the volunteer, but you're looking for what people say. So when I asked that person, how do you define yourself now you're this director? He was a director. And from financially, he goes, I feel like an imposter. I feel like I shouldn't be here. And he told me about his sense of self. And as long as he believed that, what do you think he was going to do? Precisely. Find a way unconsciously to... And all the goals in the world weren't going to help him if you don't work at this level. So we worked at this level to help him. Okay? We worked at this level to help him. And in the context of this situation, what's really significant here, we're looking for any sort of red flag, so to speak, that we may need to work with. Does that make sense? Okay? Which is imperative, really. And you've got to think of it this way. Look at the modern world we live in. Look at the world we live in the Western society. We place so much emphasis on identity around professional existence. We really do. We really do. And I think that really can cause people harm in the sense that we get validation from what we are professionally. So you go out for a meal with your friends, the first thing they say is what they do professionally. Introduce yourself, what you do professionally. And I think that's an issue because you can't do what you do professionally forever. There's more to you than just that. So, you know, I had a meeting one time with a group of friends that I knew from Loughborough, and some of us went on to work in football at a high level, and one woman says, you know what, I've not done a great deal of my life. I said, what have you been up to? She goes, oh, I've just, you know, I had a child, and I've just been stay-at-home mum. And it's ironic, really, she had probably the biggest responsibility of all of us at the time, bringing up 2 children and being a nutritionist, a psychiatrist, everything that the mum's got to be to young children, but she undermined herself. See? And the danger is we start fulfilling our identity. Professionally, we take it home. So the lawyer cross-examines their family, the doctor diagnoses their family. So it's healthy to be able to be self-aware.
I had a woman now who was a real success in business. She had time out with her children. So of course, when she was trying to get back into the business, very corporate world, she designed her CV as describing herself as what she did as a mum, but she put it in business terms. So you know, it would be like logistics manager, which was and she did it on and I thought, wow, what a brilliant, you know, it's a brilliant thing to give to all mums who think that's all.
I think so. I think it's quite useful for sure, especially in the society that we live in. We sort of focus so much. From the point of view of achieving a goal, it's quite useful to be more self-aware and then know what to do to go from A to B. So the next step is values and beliefs. So perhaps you'll have to close your eyes again and feel having the goal. So we go to the position of having the goal. So Marie's got this academy. You've got this wonderful academy. It's going fantastically well. And you've got the goal. Okay? To have achieved what you've achieved. So think of me as being maybe a reporter or a journalist. Okay? So I'm asking you, now you've got the goal. Marie, your beliefs. To achieve this success, what did you believe about yourself, the world, and others?
I believed in the need. I and the recognition that I personally felt and saw, and I believe in human beings and human nature, so it was on that ethos.
Okay, so you've got this sense of belief, okay. Okay. What about yourself? Beliefs about yourself?
Yeah, the beliefs about myself. Each time I test myself or ask myself a question to sort of negate it, it goes away. So I just feel positive, I have self-belief, self-worth, self-confidence, it's just everything.
Do you believe you deserve to have this role?
I do indeed.
That's pretty congruent, isn't it? So you could look for a red flag. The person might say, well, I'm not so sure. And that would be an issue, because your belief becomes your reality to the point that I was working with this woman one time, and she was in the modelling industry. She did really well in the modelling industry, and she was going through a bit of like turmoil at the time, a few trials and tribulations, and she was struggling to make a transition from career to potentially new career, and if she had 100 compliments, okay, what do you think happened to those compliments? She in one ear out the other ear. And the reason being is that she told me she went to modelling because as a child she was bullied. It was a way of striving to prove herself. And in the modelling industry, you're judged on appearance in the eyes of corporations. So in her mind, it was a way, it was never enough. So no matter how many jobs she got, no matter how many validations she got, there was still this embryonic seed in her mind. She told me herself that she felt ugly, and ugly in the eyes of the corporation. And I could tell her otherwise, if people try to tell otherwise, it's going to go one ear the other ear. I suppose confirmation bias. In the end, you'll kind of delete what works in your reality in one sense, and someone could say, I don't like your shoes, and she could stew over it, ruminate for days on end. But 100 positive compliments would go one at the other ear. So I suppose from the belief point of view, if we're going to achieve an outcome, one thing that's kind of critical and crucial is our reality. Our belief about ourselves, others, is instrumental, because we may need to work on that area. If we don't believe we can do something, then we'll find a way to sabotage it. If we don't believe we're worth it, we don't believe we can do it, it's confidence, sorry. Most people are confident to do what they want to do, their belief, for whatever reason. I've used a story before. I was watching on TV one time, a famous footballer on TV being interviewed, and it was ironic really. He said that, I don't know the guy, so I can't comment. I only got what I saw when I was watching the game on TV, and they lost the game. And he was an amazing footballer. He had so much experience. He won Player of the Year twice, Europe. He'd been so looked up as a player, had the qualifications as a coach, and he goes, I'm not cut out for this, when they lost the game. So that tells you where the emphasis is, I am not cut out for this. Where the emphasis is in the language tells you the area that the person say if the emphasis is I am not cut out for this, it's identity. Okay? I am. So where they emphasize the point tells you whether it's identity, belief, value, capability, behavior, environment. We'll go into that in more detail on Sunday. And no matter how good he was, if he doesn't believe that, what's going to happen, do you think? He's going to find a way. And if he doesn't believe in himself, how's anybody else going to believe in him? And the other guy, he was never a professional player, probably had no more qualifications than the other guy had. He actually was a translator. I don't know the guy over the comment, but when he was at the press conference for the first time, they talked to him, he called himself the special one. Now, I'm not saying don't call yourself the special ones, but the story is that you got Kevin Keegan on one hand, Mourinho on the other hand. Mourinho's the most successful manager of the modern day game. And I don't know them to comment, but from hearing them speak on TV, it tells me a lot about their reality. And one time I was doing a talk on Talk Sport, and I was driving down, and before I was on the show, being interviewed when I released the book, there was a footballer on there that played for the same team Mourinho was coaching, and I was listening to him speak before I went on show, And they said, what's it about him that's different to other managers? And he goes, I can't put my finger on it, really. There's nothing majorly different. And he goes, his belief in you and himself. So in the context of a goal, it's crucial. From a values point of view, it's crucial too. You've got to really want it. So your values, now you've got the goal. What are they? Are they changed? Your values, what's important to you? Now you've achieved the goal.
Yeah. I suppose I've always had the self-value. But
what's important to you about achieving the goal, Marie? Why?
what's important?
Yeah, why is it important to you?
Why is
You
it
reject.
important? My sense of purpose
Okay.
in this life
So the fuel that burns the fire.
has, I've just got that passion within me that I felt the need and recognised the need to be able to create this vision. Yeah.
And our values can change whether we like it or not. The values will change. So if you had a baby, you'll know your values may change. What's important to you may change. You might be more motivated to work harder, to provide a life, or you might be more motivated to stay at home. And it all depends. Things change. From a goal point of view, it's worth having an awareness of how things have changed. You've got the goal. What's changed? And it's a way to sort of flag up. And what you could do at the end is work on areas that the person needs to work on. And you can bring in other techniques, interventions if necessary, to talk it through, help the person. Accountability. Marie, now you've got the goal. What capabilities do you have that you didn't have before? Now you've got the goal.
Capabilities is that I've got a team around me, and I trust that team, so I've got trust.
Okay, is that a capability?
It's a capability in the sense that it's something I recognise within
How did you learn that? How did you learn that?
How did I learn it? The hard way.
Okay, for experience.
From experience.
Any other capability?
The word standards has sort of put itself there because I feel like standards are being lowered, so I'm not overstretching the standards.
Okay.
But
and any other specific capability you learn? Any other thing you might have learned along the way? And I'm sort of apprehensive to put words in the mouth of Maria, just prompting and probing, because the danger is I sit from my reference point. But a capability, say for example, okay, many years ago you may have seen the program on TV. I watched it on TV. You know the chef Jamie Oliver? Okay, he's on TV and he goes to the Pride there of the UK and teaches them how to cook. Capability. He teaches them to cook good foods, healthy foods. And he taught them to cook. On the week he was at that town, they cooked well. The week he was there. Okay? What happened, do you think, when he came back 3 months later? Did it carry on cooking well?
Probably slipped.
That precisely. Because you can teach someone ICT, you can teach them to drive a car, you can teach them many things. If they don't want it, or if they don't value it, or believe in it, or it doesn't work within their framework of reality, then they won't sustain that. When he went back and said to the woman, why don't you keep cooking well? And she goes, well, it's all right for you, Jamie. You've got loads of money. You can buy all this wonderful food. And I thought, maybe she's got a point. Maybe she's got a point. I don't know. And then she wanted to say, well, it's easier for me to give my children 20 quid a day to buy chippy. And I thought, hang on, you don't have a point. And him being diplomatic, he went with it. I'm not as diplomatic as him, I don't think. I probably wouldn't challenge on that. But we don't do this here. We don't do this here. Can you see how that's going to affect the goal? We don't do this here. It's the person that doesn't value it, they don't believe in it, it doesn't sit with their identity. And we see identities, people being institutionalized. And if you call a young person and the baby's growing up and it gets called names, you're hopeless, useless, worthless, it starts to believe it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay? So the capabilities, you learn things. And what I'm getting at for me is some of these things run deeper. Okay? And we'll sort of touch on that on the course as we go along. Behavior. Now you've got the goal. Behaviourally, what are you doing different? And what did you do along the way? So you're this successful person, you've got this amazing academy, and I'm interviewing you, and I've got a microphone. I'm saying, Marie, what did you do along the way? What are you doing differently now?
People say to earn respect, and I do feel respected in what I do, so I feel that I've won the colours, if you like. So I just wish to replicate that so many more times.
So behaviourally, what are you doing different? What are you doing different that you weren't doing before?
For me, behaviourally, I'm respecting my co-workers.
Okay.
I am.
And how do you find respect of a co-worker? Because respect to you is one thing, and to me is one thing.
Because I can walk away and trust them to continue in the same ethos.
Okay. When you say walk away,
or step back.
Metaphorically, or?
No, like Jimmy Oliver, you move away for 3 months, you're in another country, you're doing the same thing in another country. You expect the cogs to keep going round in your absence.
Well, do you expect
or
that?
hands off slightly.
Do you expect that?
I do.
Okay. So behaviourally, what are you doing different now to what you were doing before? Anything specific?
It's just the word trust. Behaviourally.
How does one define trust?
In the knowing, and knowing that something is the same ethos is running through, the same thread is running through. So if I'm using a pink thread all the way through this, I'm trusting everybody else to be using pink thread and not yellow.
Okay. And what's the difference between the pink thread and the yellow thread?
Well, I do work in terms of colour as well. So pink as in love and the generation I'm speaking of.
So who are you showing this love? And how are you showing it?
Okay. To human beings, really. Otherwise I'd be working in the vet world. So in you know.
And how are you demonstrating this love for them? Love being a word until we give it meaning, and how are you demonstrating it?
Yeah. It's becoming stronger, to respect the older generation, because this is where the aim is at currently.
And how do you do that?
The needs. Well, I suppose actually it's listening.
You suppose?
So, yeah, and listening to what's being said. So
listening to what?
To me. Listening to their needs in their in what they require.
Okay, so you can see a bit of probing, and Marie's been kind enough to volunteer. She probably won't volunteer ever again now. So I pushed her a bit.
I felt quite uncomfortable
Yes.
listening to that.
You were probing, and
yes.
You want to be specific and.
Well, you can tell people what they want to hear. You can tell them what they need to hear. And there's a sort of fine line. No, you're right. I think that the reason I was probing is I don't want to put my map of the world. I could have said behaviourally could mean if I'm on a weight reduction plan, it might mean I wake up 2 hours earlier
Do that anyway.
Yeah. Well, I could say, okay, my map of the world, if I'm expanding an academy, might mean respect to me. Might mean opening the door for someone when they walk through. Respect to me might be giving them a call. So words are labels, aren't they? And values have their own criteria. So value-based language is a criteria. Love is a word until you give it meaning. So, okay, to get clarity in her mind, behaviourally. Because if we carry on doing the same thing we've always done, we'll keep getting the same results. So behaviourally, if I'm doing a research paper, it might mean that to get to that goal of completing it, or dissertation, it might mean I have to find a motivation on a Friday evening to work until the old hours. And point being is that, it's a cross-examination, for want of a better word. And it can be, you're right, Joe, it can be, and we'll go into the model that I'm using at this moment in more detail on Sunday, and it can be, for sure.
You picked up on suppose. Marie, you said I suppose.
Yeah.
Is that because it's not a powerful...
Well, I think for me okay, let's put it this way. If for example someone was going in for if someone had been diagnosed, let's say someone had broken their leg and they weren't sure if they'd recover, and the doctor said, I suppose it will get better. How does one feel? And we can't guarantee anybody anything. What I would say is that in a dialogue, I suppose.
I'm glad Jim picked that up though, because
we'll give you a $5 later.
Actually.
Don't tell me that, you're going to get an invoice.
Still recording that.
Yes, I'll have the invoice, and that's it. Sorry.
I am aware, so I recognise at this particular time that when you get to certain circles of people, you do pick up the lingo.
Yeah.
That's it. So I'm glad that people pick up some of the words I've been using, and it takes away that negativity or that.
Yeah. For me, it was just a red flag. It's just something to sort of, and I could go into more detail, and we could, for the benefit of the demonstration. For me, it was a red flag. It was the uncertainty, the apprehension. Did you see Marie's reaction when I said about the belief? Do you believe you deserve it? Bang. Precisely. I kind of look at that sort of response, that first 6 seconds response, when I ask a question, the unconscious response. That's what I'm looking for. And the body language too.
Yeah, the body language.
Yeah. Because I could say to someone, well done, you've done really well. Is that? No. So the thing is really, and the final level being the environment. So perhaps you want to close your eyes again, and the environment around you. What's changed about the environment around you? What's changed? What's different about the environment? Now you've got the goal. What's different? What's the environment like?
Okay. Well, my environment, my living environment's changed. I own my own house. I've got what I need around me.
Okay.
I'm not living on my own. So it's a comfortable lifestyle. And it's allowed me the time to explore more opportunities. I've removed those restrictions. I recognise what that barrier was. I just feel I want to keep going forward with this. It's just this will open up more doors and opportunities for other people. It enable me to travel, to express this and extend it, and to get on a public platform with it.
Okay. And how's that feel?
Great.
Fantastic. And we could elaborate on that. I want to make sure everyone has a goal. We're going to have a break shortly, and has a go at the exercise. On a final level, what I would do is now go for every level. You could walk it through, you could just do it visually. It's entirely up to that person, and see what the person comes up with. So perhaps you'd like to just close your eyes again. And once again, let's go to the place of having the goal. So feel the goal. So let's sort of go to beyond the goal, the advice you gave the person, the identity, how you define who you are, the beliefs and values, capability, the behaviour, environment. Is there any way you want to go back to reevaluate? Any area you want to go back to reevaluate, Marie? It's your call. Anywhere you want to go back to reevaluate, or?
Not particularly. What I do see
Not
now,
particularly?
well, in saying that what I've envisaged is to have the building of this academy, to have the headquarters.
Okay. Okay, so okay.
So
there's no level you feel you need to go and reevaluate identity, beliefs, values. There's no way you can sort of re-explore again.
My identity.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is something you can come back if you want to do, but give the option for the person sort of to go through, for sure. And then having done that, I'll put the ball in their court. If you just imagine processing all this information in your mind from all the levels, identity, belief, value, capability, behavior, environment, and just bring back any learnings. What do you feel you've learned from the process to help you go towards where you're wanting to go?
Learning. I learned about myself.
In what way have you learned about yourself?
In that once that goal presents itself really clearly, keep the focus, keep the clarity.
Okay.
You sense it, you feel it, you go with it. Yeah.
Anything else you feel that you've learned?
It's the first time that I've really experienced something with such clarity.
How did that feel?
It feels, the only way that gets clear,
Okay.
like the water is seeing clear.
Okay. Can you think of any steps you can take towards going to the goal now? One step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts the first step. Is there a step that you can take towards going to that goal that you want?
Yes.
Are you okay to share? You don't have to share if you don't want to.
No, I'm contemporary.
Okay, that's okay. You've been very kind enough to okay.
Yeah.
And also, any of the areas that there was any apprehension, is there any steps you can take to develop those areas?
The apprehension is back to the beginning, into take this embryotic story to the next level of marketing, sales.
Okay.
Yeah, back to integrity.
Okay. And in your own time, in your own pace, you come up with here and now. And then we can sort of like from there use that as a platform to work towards the goal and apply other interventions, maybe like belief change, if there was an issue around belief, work on identity, we could do interventions around the area, around capability, if there's a diagnostic, is a capability that the person needs to learn, you could train in that. But you can train in all the capabilities you want in the world and behavioural change you want in the world. You see on loads of programs on TV, people make behavioural changes, they move country, they move job, they move this. You see it all the time, but they're back to baseline. They have cosmetic surgery, not against cosmetic surgery, but then they still back the same they were before. Because
how do you change somebody's belief then?
Great question. How do you change someone's belief? There are techniques you can use that can help people. Identifying it is a key step. So you've got to go from A to B, and the hurdle on the way, because you've got fact opinion. If I said this room was a long way away, here's the bar, is that fact or opinion? Long way away. What if it was on a building 10,000 feet and you had to walk over a small board? Would it be a long way? Feel like a long way? What if you had arthritis or condition? So it's going to be an opinion, but if I said it was 10 meters and I measured it, it'd be as close to the fact as you can get based on how we metrically measure things. So there's a fine line between beliefs. It's a really good point. Beliefs, we can challenge them through language. We can elicit them through role play. So there's a lot that we can do. We can understand someone's cognitive distortion they have and be more self-aware about it. Then we can give them experience exercises to do. You can do hypnosis. There's a number of things that you can do. There's not one size fits all in terms of overcoming that. For me, one of the key steps is being aware. Okay, aware, because if I want to go to the back of that room, I need to know the hurdles in the way of getting there. I've got to navigate my way around through chairs and tables. And what is a belief anyway?
So with the, going back to the model, who obviously was amazing, she had no belief in herself, how do you start to, you can't say, oh, you're beautiful.
And I wouldn't do that. That's a great point. And I didn't do that. That was the approach people had used before me. I didn't do that. What I did is it took time, because she was sort of getting in the stuff that she was doing to herself wasn't great in terms of taking excessive alcohol, substance and that sort of stuff really. So for me, it was setting up a series of experiential exercises and tasks. So I would give her exercise to do. I would do some hypnosis. I would do experiential exercises that she could utilize. Meditation, mindfulness, when she was ready for that. What I did with her is I set up a process that she could move into a new identity, and got her to think about a new role that she'd like to do, and to use her talents and to transfer those talents elsewhere and to step into a new pair of shoes. So slowly but surely, she started to rebuild a new aspect of her identity in this new role. And the new role, and I won't go into too much detail because of confidentiality, was a role to help others heal in the situation she was in before. And that,
so she moved away from that job?
Precisely.
Right.
And she would eventually go back to the job in a different capacity than what she was in before, but she was so much more self-aware that we are not one thing to all people, we are not one thing to all things. So for me, there's no one size fits all. That's the skill in having that capacity. But the important thing for me was to go away from the label, the defining of sense of self, to redefining oneself, to not using an approach that the person, okay, you know you shouldn't love this person, but you carry on loving the person, and you keep telling yourself, I shouldn't love this person. You know you shouldn't smoke, you carry on doing it, and we know that we shouldn't eat a certain food, we keep doing it. So it's to go to a deeper level of structure, of reality, and elicit that. And I'm in a situation one time for a girl delivering training, and she hadn't delivered training before, but she's very bright, very academic, and it was the first time she delivered training with me. It was for a company I used to work with in care homes. I had a behavioural role with them, teaching the young people education, but I also had a role to teach the staff some CBT or components of it. And on her first lesson, teaching with me, she got 19 great evaluations where to be evaluated. One of the 20 evaluations was a negative one. And then she went into lockdown. She ruminated. She's chewing over it. She come back next week. I said, how are you? I can't deliver, Jim. I can't deliver. How come? I've still got that in my mind. I still cannot get it out of my head. And she knew about CBT, so she knew magnifying the negatives. She knew the distortions associated to the patterns of behavior. Okay, but that's didactic. And then I decided, in my infinite wisdom, after the session, I said, okay, you can take a back seat for now. I'll carry on. And then I said to her, I talked in more detail. She goes, could you do some of that voodoo you do? Voodoo being the hypnosis. And I said, okay, I'll do some regression with you. I regressed her, and I regressed her back to a time in her life where she was 12-year-old at school, and she got told off for not doing her homework. Get to the front of the classroom, and why have you done your homework? And that schema, that association to standing in front of people had opened up like a wound when she was delivering and when she got that negative review. And the brain having a negative bias, and in my infinite wisdom, I then decide, okay, to set up a whole experiment. I said, go join the speaking association and speak to people who just started speaking for the first time. Okay, and by doing that, she's more self-aware. That's not easy to stand up in front of people and speak for the first time. Then experientially, I would say, okay, can we mirror the outcome of being a speaker and speak to the plants if you have to, if you're comfortable doing that, and extend that comfort zone to peel away and speak to one person, and speak to 2 people, speak to 5 people, and 10 people, and eventually create a safe environment for her to be in to extend the comfort zone. Because you can do the knockout intervention, and you know when a person's under a lot of stress, they're just going to go back to time. So from a long-lasting point of view, extend that reality and peel away, and like a bowling, you launch a bowling ball, and the first ball I send down might just knock one pin, and the second might knock the whole lot down, but then I might throw another one down and get the right angle and knock them all down. And the belief being like a table, the legs, we knock it down, we take the belief away. So there's no exact science, it's more of an art in our methods of communication. And we certainly do go into more detail on the course, and it certainly is a critical impact in terms of people and what they do, because behind the behaviours of belief and people and the way they communicate and where they emphasise their language, which we cover in more detail on the program too, tells you a lot about their reality. Do they emphasize identity? I. Do they emphasize I can't, cannot? Is that the emphasis? Being a belief? Do. I cannot do. Capability. This. Behavior. Here. Environment. Where is the emphasis? I can't do this here. 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 Does that sort of make sense? We go into more detail in the course from a language point of view. Okay? To know where the issue exists. For me, I would say it's more of a challenge. If if it's identity and a value or belief, it's going to run deeper. Because I can teach anyone pretty much anything. If they don't believe they can do it, they don't value it, it doesn't sit with their identity, then what do you think they'll do? There's a strong possibility, I would think. Because if the person doesn't want to, you've got the best driving instructor in the world. If you don't want to drive, you've got no desire to drive, you won't drive. Okay? If you don't believe you can do it, you don't believe it's worthwhile doing it, the two being intrinsically linked, beliefs and values, will come in more detail on Sunday, then you won't do it. So that's something we're going to touch on. I'm mindful of time. We're going to have a short 5-minute stretch, and then we'll have a bit of a practice, and this will take us nicely into tomorrow. I just want to give a clap for you. And we look forward to achieving seeing you achieve your goal.